So the Mets, Rogers and Helsley with Diaz, that's a pretty formidable back end of the bullpen. I'm assuming Helsley will slide into the eighth inning, Diaz will stay in the ninth, and Rogers will clean up wherever they need him against right, especially right-handed hitters.
That would be my assumption, AJ. The beauty of this is if you've used Edwin Diaz a couple days in a row, then you've got Helsley. And it gives you that depth, that protection. And remember, they have some pretty formidable relievers, Reed Garrett, right in front of those guys. So this makes them that much stronger. And it's really impressive to see what they're doing with that bullpen and how they kind of adjusted on the fly today to make it that much better.
We had a big day that we saw from the Metropolitans. So what do you think about the return for them, getting both Rogers, who can do a lot of things out of the bullpen and give them a variety that they're looking for, plus Ryan Helsley to go along with Edwin Díaz for 8 and 9? That's special.
Not bad. And Gregory Soto last week, they jumped the lefty market there already. So yeah, the Mets have done quite a bit to go all in on their bullpen and gave up some prospects that hurt them a little bit, guys that their player development people liked in both deals today. But what this tells you, I think, is a couple of things about David Stearns that you like if you're a Mets fan, and is that he is not one of these GMs, despite the Harvard degree and the quarter zip and the whole, modern profile the part that he seems to play. He's not one of these GMs that is going to be overly cautious and probabilistic. He's pushing some chips into the middle of the table here and saying, yes, some of these guys might hurt me. You've got the stuff up on the screen right now. Baez, Dome, Tidwell are 3 guys that could hurt to give up. But the Mets understand that the next 2 years are their best window to win a World Series for a couple of reasons. One, Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo aren't getting any aren't getting any younger. We're all getting older. Obviously Soto's in the core of his prime right now at 26 years old. Labor uncertainty in 27 is a factor here, not just because we don't know what that season's going to look like, but because for all the Mets know, there could be new financial rules in place at that point that limit Steve Cohen's ability to use his financial resources. That's a whole other topic, but it's one of the things in the mix that they're thinking about. So it's like, let's go all in now. And it shows you that Stearns has got that instinct to be a little bit of a gambler rather than just that guy going, well, Ryan Helsley improves our playoff odds by 3.6%. So do we really want to give up 11 years of control? That's not what the Mets are thinking like right now. They're all in.
How much has changed with the Mets farm system in the last few years? I mean, you see, one of the guys that goes back in these deals was Drew Gilbert, right? The what was that? That was the earlier deal, the Rogers deal, who was acquired in that
right.
Justin Verlander trade, right? So they did do this short reload to try and boost up their farm system. So, you mentioned, it definitely hurts, but how much better off was their farm system heading into this season? And side question, how much does it help for them to have this pitching development machine going for them so that they can look around and say, you know what, we actually can grow some of these players here?
That's an on-point question, Scott. The first one, though, they definitely have a solid farm system where they haven't dealt any of their top guys and won't deal any of their top guys despite being all in. And Billy Epler deserves some credit for that because he went and got Drew Gilbert. Steve Cohen, too, because if you remember that trade deadline, he ate a lot of money on Verlander and Scherzer to get prospects back. But a guy like Gilbert becomes an asset that can either become an outfielder for you down the line or a trade piece. And obviously the Mets chose the latter. So that helps. And they reloaded at that trade deadline under Epler. And then the pitching piece, that's 100% what the Mets are thinking. They're good at developing pitchers. They feel like they know how to do it. So you can trade a guy like Blade Tidwell, who they do like. I mean, he projects as probably a future reliever or a back-end starter. So you can part with a guy with that profile, but still they're confident, to your point, Scott, that they can develop the next guy. They can deplete a little from their pitching and their system and still be able to churn out pitchers. Having said that, I see you're putting up the tweet teased in my column right there. It's like the first blush reaction in the industry was to that trade, the Giants trade earlier today. Like I was getting a lot of texts like, this can't be real, right? what the heck, what the bleep, but what is this? Because they gave up a lot of prospect capital, a lot of years of control. But again, it speaks to, relievers are expensive, but we trying to win the World Series or what?
Because they built a bullpen, tell me if I'm wrong, and they're doing it in the trade, kind of like the 2020 or 2021 Rays, where you got a lefty in Soto coming from here, 99. Then you got see a bat, a Ryan Helsley over top, Edwin Díaz over coming from the side, and then you got Tyler Rogers. Yeah. Do you feel like it's a concerted effort to have such unique profiles as pitchers, or was it just we're collecting the best we can collect?
No, that's a good question, Eric. I can't claim to have asked that direct question to David Stearns today, but there's no doubt that they think of everything, and I thought of that too, and I'm sure certainly we're not the only ones. All the different looks, all the different arm angles, and that's got to be. I mean, I've never been in a major league batter's box like two of you have, but I can imagine that inning to inning facing looks that are that different in a playoff game or in any game has to be extra hard. So for sure that helps.
Andy, what's next for the Mets? What else do they need? I mean, they solidified their bullpen, right, with the 3 trades they've made. What would be next for the Mets wish list?
So I do think, AJ, that they did a lot of their heavy lifting today. Obviously, they built this terrific bullpen where they had a bullpen when we woke up this morning that wasn't really ready for the postseason. So having accomplished the thing that they needed to accomplish to become World Series contenders, now they can do the thing that they want to accomplish but isn't a need, which is try to lengthen the lineup a little bit. The most likely place to do that is center field. They've obviously been talking to the White Sox about the center fielder that is the hottest commodity right now. They've talked to White Sox about Mark Vientos, about Luis Angel Acuna. I made a call around 8:30, 8:45 tonight, so about an hour ago, and nothing was hot or imminent on any center field front, whether it's Mullins or Luis Robert Jr. or anyone. But when they wake up tomorrow, or maybe as they work into the wee hours tonight, they could try to reignite it center field talk. But look, they understand that center field would be better if Jeff McNeil weren't your everyday center fielder in the playoffs, but they understand that unlike where they were with the bullpen, they can survive with McNeil in center.
Andy, the Mets had a nice little 7-game win streak recently, but they just ran into a Padres buzzsaw. And I know they don't generally play great over there, and the Padres were playing up to the competition here. Do you think that having a bad series like this against San Diego and seeing their, 4-headed monster bullpen, and yet they're potentially still going after another one, partially sparked this from David Stearns? Like you mentioned, we got Soto. Now we picked up 2 other high leverage arms to go along with Diaz. Plus, Reed Garrett's had a great year. Stanek's decent. Yeah. They've got Raley and Soto. Like now, in my mind, I'm looking at their pen on paper, and I'm like, for a playoff bullpen, this is probably a top 3, if not at the worst, top 5 bullpen in baseball. So did they take a page out of San Diego's book here?
Probably not explicitly, Scott, because I know they identified bullpen for a long time and weeks as they were preparing for the deadline to you have to improve the bullpen. But the Padres certainly gave an example right in front of their faces this week of why that's so important for sure. And I agree with you. They have a top playoff bullpen now, and that's mission accomplished for the trade deadline, and it's not even the day of. So that's got to be a pretty good feeling for them.